So, outline of this lecture. Please note that we will only cover subtopic 16.1. Okay, 16.1, which is genes, populations, and evolution. That is what covers in your syllabus. So you don't have to worry about 16.2, which is natural selection. We will cover a bit on natural selection dalam 16.1 sahaja. Okay, so what is our learning outcome? You should be able to explain how evolution happened in populations, which is related to a change in the allele frequency. Okay, this is the keyword. Kalau evolution, dia berkait rapat dengan change in allele frequency. Okay, and the next learning outcome, you should be able to list the 5 conditions necessary to maintain the Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium. Okay, this is what you have to ask yourself by the end of this lecture. Can you explain and can you list this learning outcome? Okay, kalau you dapat, maksudnya you have concentrated during the lecture and you have achieved the learning outcome for topic 3. Okay, so let's go back to basics. What is a gene? What is a population? And what is population genetics? Okay, gene. Gene is a segment of DNA. Okay, segment of DNA that serves as a unit of hereditary information. And it carries all our hereditary information in the form of an allele or traits. Okay, so genes are segment of DNA. So population. What is a population? Ini you dah belajar last semester. It is a group of organism of a single species occupying a particular area at the same time. But however, there is diversity exists among the members of a population. Okay, diversity exists among members of a population. So what is population genetics? It is the study of this diversity in terms of allele differences. Okay, traits. Okay, allele differences. So this evaluates the diversity of a population by studying genotype and also the phenotype frequency over time. Okay, when you understand gene, when you understand population, when you understand population genetics, then only we can go into evolution. Okay, so if you see this photo here, this is the Himalayan rabbit. Dia selalunya dekat kawasan yang sejuk. Okay. Okay, dia if you notice it has a black nose, it has a black ear and a black tail. So, kalau kita letak ice pack ke atas dia, dekat bahagian sini, ice pack untuk bagi dia jadi sejuk kat bahagian atas badan dia ni. So, what happened after you take out the ice pack? You find that there is new fur yang color hitam juga that grow dekat bahagian atas dia. Why do you think this happened? Anybody?
To cope with the heat loss.
Okay, betul. Terus juga satu lagi. Kaitkan dia dengan genetik.
Adaptation.
Ya, betul. Adaptation and also this. Okay, katakanlah this is adaptation. Do you think that this situation is an evolution? Evolution ke rabbit ni?
No.
Tak. Kenapa tak? Okay.
Sebab terdapat kat rabbit tu je.
Betul. Okay. Okay. Yang ni kalau kita letak ice pack ni kan dekat atas dia jadi sejuk. Lama-lama over season ke apa, it will go back jadi putih. Sebab dia, this is, dia because of the gene interact dengan the environment to produce that type of trait. Cuma this thing is not inherited. Faham tak? Dia akan go off this thing. So kita letak dia. Kita letak the ice pack. Dia bukan semula jadi ada black hitam kat atas ni yang dia boleh inherit dekat anak-anak dia. Okay, so this is not evolution. Kalau evolution, anak-anak dia semua pun akan ada chance of dapat black body kat atas ni. But this is not evolution. So you have to understand what is evolution. Evolution daripada parent, dia akan turun kepada offspring. Ke generation. But this one is just genes interacting with the environment. Maksudnya dia ada ice pack. Atas ni dia sejuk, so dia new fur hitam dia grow. Tapi this won't last. This will only last for the season selagi kita letak benda ni kat atas dia. Kita tak letak, cabut lama-lama dia tak jadi hitam. Okay? Dia tak inherit the gene to the offspring. Okay. So once you understand that, then we can go into evolution. So, evolution in regards to population is the change in the allele frequency in a population over time. Okay, always remember this. Evolution berkait rapat dengan change in allele frequency in a population over time. Over time maksudnya generation over generation over generation over generation. Dia bukan jadi dalam satu parent generation sahaja. If that happens, then that is not called evolution. Okay, so evolution is best understood in terms of ada tiga main points that you have to remember. Genotypic frequency, phenotypic frequency, and lastly is the allelic frequency. Okay, ni yang whenever you kata evolution occurs, dia berkait rapat. Cuma the change in the allele frequency yang menyebabkan microevolution atau evolution to happen over time. Okay, let's go into detail on that. Ada some of you maybe confused lagi dengan what is genotypic frequency, what is phenotypic frequency, what is allelic. Okay. So, various alleles at all the gene loci in all individuals make up the gene pool of a population. Contohnya, this is the gene pool for a certain population. So, kalau you nampak dalam ni, dia ada 3 allele. X1, X2, X3. So, dia ada another different type of combination. So, all of these are called the gene pool. Okay, regardless dia ada X1 saja ke X2 mix dengan X1. So, all of this is the sum of all allele is called the gene pool. So, when you see the definition, it is set of all genes or genetic information in any population, usually of a particular species. So, gene pool of a population can be described in terms of allele frequency. So, kalau kat sini you can see allele dia ada X1, ada X2, ada X3. Okay? Okay, let's go into detail on that. Okay. So, kalau dalam medal, dia guna contoh peppered moth. Okay. So, phenotype of a homozygous dominant of a peppered moth is this color, the dark color. Okay, this is a homozygous dominant. If if a heterozygous, it is also dark color. Homozygous recessive, it gives a light peppered moth color. Okay. So, genotype. These are the color that yang express, yang you nampak adalah phenotype. Okay. What about the genotype? Genotype. Okay. D besar, D besar. So, what is this? These are alleles. So, kalau a normal diploid ini, we have a single gene ada 2 allele. Kalau normally. Can be banyak. Can be 3, can be 4, can be 5. Tapi we are talking on term of a normal diploid. So, kita ada 2 allele. So, genotype untuk heterozygous, D besar, D kecil. Genotype untuk homozygous recessive, it is D kecil, D kecil. Okay. Allele. Okay, that was genotype. Okay, genotype. This is alleles. Alleles, D. Alleles, D. Okay. These are alleles on a chromosome. Contohnya homozygous dominant, they on the same locus, D besar, D besar. So it is a homozygous dominant. Di satu locus ni dia D besar, D kecil is heterozygous and D kecil, D kecil is the homozygous recessive. Okay. So when we count the phenotype frequency, okay, phenotype, you tengok the expression, the trait yang keluar. Okay, so what you can see are two types, which is dark body and also light body. Okay, so you kira total dulu. Total all these moth ada berapa? So yang ni ada 3, 5, 7, ada 9. Okay, yang light body ada berapa? Light body ada 16. Okay, so what is the total of the population dulu? Total is 9 tambah 16, jadi 25. So that is the total. Okay, so what is the number for dark body? Dark body ni can be dominant and also can be heterozygous. Tapi it doesn't matter sebab kita tengok the phenotype. As long as dia dark, doesn't matter dia hetero ke, dia homozygous dominant. When you say it's a phenotype, tengok dia punya apa benda yang express. Okay, contohnya dark and light coloured. So dark body ada 9, light body ada 16. So how do you count the phenotype frequency? So dark body punya frequency is 9 over the total. So 9 over 25, you get the frequency of 0.36. This is the frequency for dark body. Kalau light body pula 16 over 25, and what do you get? You get 0.64. Okay? Any questions so far? This is very...
Doktor,
Yeah.
dekat dalam slide tu kan dia tulis two phenotype frequency possibilities. Maksudnya kalau soalan tu tanya possibility, caranya sama juga. Maksudnya diorang benda yang sama lah, possibility and frequencies ni.
Ya, macam ni. Kalau dia kata phenotype frequency possibility. So, you tengok dia punya keyword adalah phenotype kat sini. Phenotype you tengok ada 2. Dia punya possibility hanya ada 2 sahaja. Even though homozygous dominant and heterozygous dua-dua give the dark body. So, this is satu possibility. Yang ni lagi satu possibility. These are possibilities. Frequency yang ni. This is the phenotype frequency. This is the frequency. So possibility ada 2. Sama ada dia dark body and light body. Tapi when you count the frequency of the dark body, this is what you get. Okay. Dark body and light body. Okay. Total for the two frequencies mesti sama dengan 1. So the total number of phenotype frequencies in a population must equal to 1. Okay. So katakanlah you tak ada data untuk negatif apa ni? For the light body, you ada 9 je dia bagi. 9 and total moth ada 25. Cuba cari the light body berapa. So you can do it by 1 minus the dark body punya frequency. So you get the light body frequency. Okay, so this is phenotype frequency. Next we go on into genotype frequency. Okay, contoh kalau macam kat sini pula, there are 3 genotype frequency possibilities. Sama ada D besar, D besar, D besar, D kecil, and D kecil, D kecil. So this is genotype frequency. Okay, homozygous dominant, heterozygous, and homozygous recessive. So, from the moth tadi, population here, the number of D besar genotype equals to 1. Here, the first one sahaja, D besar. So, number of heterozygous genotype, we have 8. Here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay. Number of D kecil, homozygous recessive. How many moth do we have? So you count all the light-bodied moth. You have 16. Okay. So total tadi all the moth ada 25. Betul tak? So 25. When you have to count the genotype frequency of DD, besar D besar D besar, it is 1 over the total of the moth, which is 25. So you get the genotype frequency of D. D is 0.04. Okay. Untuk heterozygous, you have to do 8 over 25. Because ada kat sini 8, here 8 over the total is 20, over total is 25, so you get 0.32. So counting the genotype frequency of the homozygous recessive is the same thing juga, cuma this time ada 16. So 16 over 25, you get 0.64. So if you total 0.04, total 0.32, and also 0.64, you have to get the value of 1. Okay? Mesti 1. So total number of genotype frequencies in a population must equal to 1. Baru capai equilibrium. Okay. Next, tadi phenotype frequency and then genotype frequency. Now is allele frequency. Okay, this is what cause the main cause of microevolution. Allele frequency. So dekat sini the two allele frequency possibility sama ada dia D besar and D kecil. Dua je. Satu gene dia carry two alleles for diploid. So D besar, D kecil. Okay. D besar kat sini, yang lain semua heterozygous. Tapi dekat D besar ni, yang the next yang ada heterozygous, dia also ada D besar. So when you count the D besar, you don't forget to count yang heterozygous. Ini juga. Okay. So katakanlah yang dekat sini number of D allele, kalau dekat sini dia terlupa nak kira heterozygous, dia letak 2 saja. 2. Is wrong. Sebab heterozygous also got allele D besar. Okay, so count all the D besar. This is allele frequency. D besar ada berapa? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's why the number of D besar allele is 10. Okay, next is number of D kecil allele is 40. Okay, 40 kenapa 40? Banyak sangat you rasa. Padahal moth kat sini ada 16 saja. So D kecil ada 2. So 16 darab 2 dah 32. Betul? So where does the 8 others come from? It comes from here. So yang tadi 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40. Okay, that's where you get your D, the number of D besar allele and number of D kecil allele. Okay, then we can count the allele frequency. So allele frequency of D besar is 10 over the number of alleles, which is 50, and you get the allele frequency of 0.2. For the allele frequency of D kecil pula is 40 over 50, and you get 0.8. So if you total the allele frequencies up, it must be equal to 1. Okay? This is on the condition that it is in equilibrium. Okay. Okay. So, next, allele frequency, proportion of each allele within a population gene pool. Okay. Frequencies of the dominant and the recessive allele must add up to 1. This is the formula. P, which is dominant, and Q is recessive. P plus Q is equals to 1. Okay, equals to 1. This one. Kalau microevolution involves a change in these allele frequencies within population over time. If gene frequencies do not change over time, then microevolution has not occurred. Okay, kalau in the Hardy-Weinberg principle, we will go into detail on that later. When a population is in equilibrium, we use this formula. This is for genotype frequency and this is for allele frequency. Genotype frequency is P squared plus 2PQ plus Q squared is equals to 1. Okay, this is the two formulas that you have to know. So you'll be using a lot of this for your calculation for this topic. Allele frequency is P plus Q equals to 1. Genotype frequency is P squared plus 2PQ plus Q squared equals to 1. But you can only use this formula when it is in Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium. Okay, right. Let's go on next. Okay, contoh. Macam ni. So yang tadi sama juga. So this is the, alamak tak nampak pula saya kat atas ni tulis apa. Oh, this is the gene pool. The gene pool, this is the allele frequencies and this is the equilibrium genotype frequency. So from here you can know satu yang ni dapat this type of allele. Yang ni pula dapat macam ni. Ni dapat macam ni. So it's easier for you to count berapa banyak the alleles. So P is dominant, which is frequency of D besar. Q is recessive. P plus Q equals to 1. So P is dominant, Q is recessive. So frequency of D besar, when you count all this later, D besar ada 10. So 10 per 50 alleles, you get 0.2. And for recessive, 40/50 alleles, you get 0.8. So total must equal to 1. Okay, this is allelic frequency. Kalau genotype frequency, we use this formula. P squared plus 2PQ plus Q squared is equals to 1. So P sama juga, which is dominant, frequency of dominant D. Q is frequency of recessive D. So the frequency of D besar, you have to use P squared. Okay, P squared is from here, the allele frequency, you gunakan the, apa ni? The result from allele frequency, you know your P. P is 0.2. So P squared is 0.2 squared. So you get 0.04. That is for the frequency of D besar, homozygous dominant. So when you count frequency of D besar, D kecil, you have to use P and Q. Okay? So you masukkan dia dalam formula kat tengah ni, heterozygous, 2PQ. So 2 darab dengan frekuensi D darab frekuensi D. So 2 in bracket 0.2 darab 0.8, which is Q. You get 0.32. And then the frequency of the homozygous recessive is Q squared. So Q is 0.8, so you square it, dapat 0.64. When you add up the total, it must equal to 1. So P squared plus 2PQ plus Q squared is equals to 1. Okay, this is on the condition that it abides by the Hardy-Weinberg principle or Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium. Okay. Okay, let's watch this video. This is ada contoh how you count the allele frequency and the genotype frequency.
So here's the information you get for this new population.
Nampak tak? Dengar tak?
There are 500 frogs, and of those, 375 frogs are dark green. The rest are light green. With that information, please solve all genotype frequencies and all allele frequencies if in Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium. Step 1. Determine first whether you're going to work with the first equation or the second equation. Since I'm working with individuals here that have genotypes, I'm going to work with the second equation first. Step 2. Figure out what value you can determine. So 375 frogs are dark green out of 500 total. That would mean 125 frogs are light green since there are 500 frogs total. But I can't use whole numbers like that, as both of these equations ultimately are equal to 1. I need frequencies for these equations. Now, I could say 375 dark green frogs out of 500 total frogs is 0.75, but all I know is that would be the frequency of dark green frogs. The problem is dark green frogs could have genotype big G, or they could have big G, little g. I can't assume they're one genotype or the other, so I shouldn't use that value. The recessive genotype, resulting in a light green trait, is safe to use though, because I know that light green frogs are the genotype little g. They can't be anything else. So 125 frogs out of 500 frogs equals 0.25. That means from the equation, the value q squared equals 0.25. Step 3. Take a value you solved from the previous step and calculate from there. So if I know that q squared is 0.25, then I could go ahead and solve for q. If q squared is 0.25, I can determine q if I take the square root of 0.25. Therefore, q is equal to 0.5. That's the allele frequency for the recessive allele little g. If I know the q value, I can find out the p value using the first equation. Since p plus q is equal to 1, now I know that p is equal to 0.5. That's the allele frequency for the dominant allele, big G. Now I have p and I have q, and I can take care of everything else. I can use the second equation to determine the homozygous dominant frequency, the heterozygous frequency, and I already knew the homozygous recessive frequency from the beginning. Plugging those in, p squared equals 0.25 for the genotype frequency big G, 2pq equals 0.5 for the genotype frequency big G, q squared equals 0.25 for the genotype frequency little g. Phew, that's a lot. Finally, some last tips for solving Hardy-Weinberg equations. Number 1, I used nice numbers, meaning I didn't need a calculator for my examples. It's not always like that. You might need a calculator for the numbers you're given, and you might need a round. Number 2, when you get your final results, always check that the values you calculated do equal 1 for both equations. This can really help you check your work. Number 3, be careful not to assume too much with given info. Remember when I was given a value of 375 frogs out of 500 being dark green? I didn't necessarily know whether they were big G or big G, little g. Instead, I chose to work with the recessive genotype since I knew light green frogs would be little g. Number 4, practice. There are a lot of practice problems you can find online, and remember, this skill can be very useful for determining the extent of evolutionary forces because you have this base comparison of Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium to compare it to. Well, that's it for the Amoeba Sisters.
Okay, so that was the calculation. Okay, kalau I've uploaded this some videos in Putra Blast, video tadi, and also video explaining the yang tapered morph as well kat dalam Putra Blast, so you can always refer to that. Okay, kalau you tak reti nak buat the practice question that I will assign later tu, please refer to how you can use the bila you nak guna genotype punya frequency punya formula and bila you nak guna the allelic frequency formula. So, selalunya both akan berkait rapat. Okay, so next we go on into the next subtopic dalam subtopic ni, which is Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium. So Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium states that when a population whose allele and genotype frequency do not change from generation is said to be at genetic equilibrium. Maksudnya dia stable. Okay, dia tak ada this ada 5 condition that it has to be met in order for it to be called genetic equilibrium. Okay. The HWE states that allele frequencies in the population will remain constant. Assuming ada 5, you have to know this, you have to hafal. Dia akan remain constant kalau this thing happen. Kalau there is no mutation. Satu, maksudnya tak ada new allele arise. Dia akan still maintain the Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium. Dia large gene pool or large population. Third one is random mating. Dia tak select mates at random. Dia select mates at random. Dia bukan non-random mating. Number 4, no migration. Maksudnya tak ada exchange of allele between population. No selection as well. Sama ada maksudnya dia tak ada favorism dekat situ. So natural selection does not favor one genotype. So these are the 5 conditions of the Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium. Okay. So yang tadi I have to remind you, microevolution occurs when there is a change in the allele frequency. Kalau genotype frequency, evolution or microevolution does not occur. Okay, so when you refer to table 16.1, the first Hardy-Weinberg condition is random mating. What happen kalau dia deviate from the condition? Maksudnya terjadinya non-random mating in the population. When there is a non-random mating in the population, the alleles do not assort randomly. Tapi dalam population tu tak ada in and out of alleles. Cuma the alleles do not assort randomly. So bila there is no in and out of alleles, there is no change in allele frequency. There is only change in genotype frequency. So evolution did not occur. Okay. Always remember allele frequencies only baru jadi evolution. Kalau dia setakat dalam population or gene pool yang sama, dia cuma non-random mating dalam tu, it change the genotype frequency, not the allele frequency. Okay, next one, Hardy-Weinberg condition of no selection. Sepatutnya no selection. Tapi kalau berlakunya selection, contohnya gambar burung ni, dia nak pilih sama ada dia suka dark coloured ataupun light coloured moth. Of course, dia akan pilih the light coloured moth. Sebab lagi senang nampak prey dia. Okay. So, this is favorism. So, certain alleles are selected for or against. So, this is the change in allele frequency. Maksudnya the gene pool tu dah berubah untuk the moth. Dia dah keluarkan the light moth. So, akan ada allele frequency change in the gene pool. So, this is one of the reason for evolution. Okay, next condition, no mutation. Tapi kalau terjadinya mutation, it causes additional of new allele. Bila ada addition of new allele, this change the allele frequency. So evolution does occur. Next one, condition Hardy-Weinberg, no migration. But if there is migration, sama ada masuk atau keluar immigration or emigration, individuals carry alleles into or out of the population. So this change in allele frequency, which leads to evolution. Okay, last one, large population, which is no genetic drift. Okay, kalau jadinya small population, maksudnya effect of genetic drift is very high atau very effective, then there is a loss of allele diversity or some alleles may disappear. This change in allele frequency, which is one of the factors for evolution to occur. Okay, we will go into detail on all of these 5 conditions. But you have to remember, kalau random mating sahaja, tak ada selection, tak ada mutation, tak ada migration, tak ada large population, it won't alter the allele frequency. Dia hanya alter the genotype frequency. Okay? And evolution does not occur when there is a change in only genotype frequency. Kalau ada change in genotype frequency and also allele frequency, then evolution does occur. Okay? Random mating ni selalunya dia tak ada, non-random mating ni selalunya tak by itself. Selalunya dia akan berkait rapat dengan natural selection. Okay, bila terjadinya random mating, terjadinya non-random mating and also selection, then evolution does occur because there is a change in genotype frequency and also the allele frequency. Okay, so let's go into detail. So deviations from a HWE indicate that evolution has taken place. So analysis of allele changes in populations over time determine the extent to which evolution has occurred. So you have to remember, this is the microevolution factor. Terjadinya mutation, terjadinya migration because of small population size, non-random mating and natural selection. Okay. Contoh kita nak tengok sama ada the generation 2 have gone through evolution or not. Okay, this is the prior population. Ada tak dalam ni? Okay, on page 282. Okay, contoh allele frequency dia. If you see here, the allele frequency is 0.20 for capital D, 0.80 for recessive D. Lepas tu you tengok dia punya genotype frequency pula, still 0.04, D versus heterozygous 0.32, homozygous recessive is 0.64. Okay, kalau terjadinya random mating, no selection, no migration, no mutation, maksudnya dia abide by the Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium, you would expect the new generation to have the same allele frequency and to have the same genotype frequency. This means that evolution has not occurred. There is no change in allele frequency. Kita tengok the new generation, F2 dengan F1 sama. You tengok the genotype frequency F2, F1 and F2 pun sama. So no change in allele frequency, no change in genotype frequency, evolution has not occurred. Okay. Next one. Kalau the prior population is this, and then the current population is this because of non-random mating. Non-random mating sahaja. Dia tak ada faktor-faktor lain. Then we observe it to be the allele frequency is the same. Cuma there is a change in the genotype frequency. D besar dah jadi 0.10 and the recessive dah jadi 0.70. Okay, these are changes in the genotype frequency. So when there is a change in the allelic frequency, but then there's a change in the genotype frequency, evolution has not occurred. Kenapa not occurred? Because there is no change in allele frequency, only genotype frequency. So evolution has not occurred. Okay, kalau non-random mating sahaja, tak ada condition lain, evolution has not occurred. Okay, last one, this one. Kalau these are the prior population, so in the current population, ada selection. One of the condition of Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium is not met dah. Sebab terjadinya selection. So there is a change in the allelic frequency. Tengok dia punya D besar dah jadi 0.8 from 0.2. This is prior population. So the new population ada 0.8 D besar and only 0.2 D kecil. So this change the allelic frequency and also changes the genotype frequency. So when both of these are changed, evolution has occurred. But the main keyword kalau ada allelic frequency, even though genotype frequency tak bertukar, evolution has occurred. Because evolution berkait rapat dengan allelic frequency. Okay? So that is the differences between kalau the condition of the Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium is not met and also if it is met, what happened? Okay. Okay, now we go on into the causes of microevolution. Ada 5 tadi kan? Satu cause yang menyebabkan microevolution is genetic mutation. Okay, genetic mutation kalau you tengok is the change to the DNA sequence. Okay. Contoh kalau dalam gambar ni. This is the original population of wildflower. Generation 1 dia. Dia ada bunga tengah dia orange and also white. When it comes to generation 2, tiba-tiba ada random mutation occurs. Ada black tengah-tengah ni. So, bila the generation yang bawah dia dah ada few of the black flowers. Okay. Sebab apa? Maybe this mutation can be beneficial. Contohnya untuk nak attract pollinators sebab colour dia. Could be. So by the end of that, kalau it is beneficial, generation 20 you would expect for it to have more of the black tengah ni. Flower. Okay? So this change in genetic mutation usually provide new alleles. That's why there is a change in the gene pool. Change in the allelic frequency. Okay. Mutation that is not repaired can affect gene pool of population only if they are transmitted from prior to subsequent generation. So the gametes must be successfully reproduced in order for it to cause evolution. Kalau setakat dekat generation 1 sahaja, it is not called evolution sebab dia tak pass down to generation. Okay. So these are advantages of mutation, provide new alleles and also create genotype resulting phenotype with better adaptation. Okay, this is satu point, which is genetic mutation. So another cause of microevolution is gene flow or gene migration. Gene flow is caused by gene migration. Okay, so gene flow is because of the movement of alleles between population when organism migrate. Contohnya kalau kita tengok gambar ni, population deer, eastern deer and also the western deer. So dia dah migrate. Tengah-tengah ni ada barrier, dia cross. So that is migration. So individuals migrate into or out of the population change the allele frequency in the next generation. So maksudnya it changes the allelic frequency and so microevolution occurs or evolution occurs. Okay, so continual gene flow reduces the genetic divergence between the population. So kalau dia continue to have migration, so dua-dua ni the genetic diversion between the population lama-lama makin berkurang. Okay, contohnya this can be one contoh of migration. This is another example of migration, is pollinated. Okay, dia pergi ke sebelah sungai belah sana. So that is also considered a gene flow. Okay. What happened in contrast? Kata kalau tak ada migration dalam the population, what happened? So when there is no migration between the population, there is no flow of allele. Kan, di dalam gene pool yang sama je. So dalam gene pool yang sama sahaja, the gene pools become more distinctive over time. It becomes more and more different. So gene pool ni sahaja and gene pool ni sahaja. Contohnya kalau tak ada migration. Okay. So the gene pool becomes more distinctive over time. So bila dah jadi tak ada migration, only katakanlah dia brown ni saja. So in over time, the population ni gets larger over generation and lama-lama it can be not capable of interbreeding dengan population yang lain, yang sebelah ni, yang western deer. Why? Because they dah go through, we call it as reproductively isolated. Okay, dia dah breed sesama dia sahaja. So this isolated breeding is the formation of species dalam dunia, speciation. Okay, so that is gene flow, another condition of Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium. Kalau Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium is not met. Okay, so gene migration. So another cause of this microevolution, tadi mutation, now is migration. Next one is genetic drift due to small population size. Genetic drift can happen regardless of the population size, tapi it has the impact more on small population size. Okay, so genetic drift is the change in allele frequencies of a population due to chance event. Contohnya remove of the allele of individuals at random from population. Random ni can be cause of anything. Contohnya kebakaran ke, atau tiba-tiba tak ada elektrik ke, kalau ikan kan. So this is by chance. Genetic drift is by chance event. Okay. So gene pool of a small population can be completely lost by chance. Okay, contohnya katakanlah kalau this photo here, large pool. Kalau ada genetic drift pun, dia still tak ada effect sangat. Katakanlah kalau is small pool, you tengok this one, A besar yang navy ni. Kalau terjadinya genetic drift in a small population, lama-lama tinggal the navy blue saja color dia. So that's what it meant by the effective of they affect the small population size more rather than larger pool. Contoh, okay, this one, frogs. Dalam ni ada berapa? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 frogs. Okay. 10% of the population je ada brown. Yang lain 90% is green. Tiba-tiba natural disaster kills 5 green frogs. So tinggal 4 je green frog kat sini. 4 green frog and 1 light brown frog. So this light brown frog consists now of 20% of the population. Okay, so that is why small population have the larger effect of genetic drift. Another contoh dekat sini, 10% of the population is the moth dekat sini, dark coloured moth. Yang ni kalau you perasan dekat pokok ni, light coloured moth. So forest fire kills 5 of the light moth. So last the dark peppered moth becomes the 20% of the population. Okay. So these are the new population. Ada 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 saja. Okay. So that is genetic drift. Okay, genetic drift can be caused by 2 factors. Satu ialah bottleneck effect and the other one is founder effect. Okay. Factors that contribute to genetic drift. Okay, first one is bottleneck effect. Genetic drift that causes the loss of genetic diversity due to fluctuation in the environment such as food supply. Contohnya, food supply depletion, disease outbreak, natural disaster. Okay, these are all effect of bottleneck effect, genetic drift. Okay, contoh, if you see the bottle here, this is the parent population. They are the large population with large gene pool and high allelic frequency. Allelic frequency dia ada hijau, dia ada yellow, dia ada red, dia ada blue. Contohnya bila terjadinya fluctuation in the environment, ada drastic reduction in the population. Yang keluar ni, if you see the bottle, daripada besar dekat sini dia jadi kecil. So this is bottleneck effect. So apa yang keluar dekat sini is the surviving population. So this is because of genetic drift, where the gene pool and the allelic frequency become smaller. So because the event occurs randomly, the new generation is composed of alleles that just happen to make it. Contohnya yang keluar daripada sini hanya blue, green and red. So the loss of the allele yellow. Okay, so this is just by chance, composed of alleles that just happen to make it for the new population. So this is bottleneck effect. Okay, another effect is the founder effect. There are 2 genetic drift ni, founder effect and also bottleneck effect in a small population. So genetic drift that results when few individuals from a large population establish or colonize a new area. Okay, yang ni kalau dia pindah tempat lain, they establish or colonize in a new area. Okay, back the original population, they are the large population with large gene pool and high allelic frequency. So what happens when few individuals leave the population and decide to settle in a new area? So the new population ni, which is established from the few individuals leaving the original population. So the new smaller population have a different gene pool and allelic frequency from the original population. So this new population tak ada, like I said, tak ada the yellow ball. Only ada the green, blue and red. So the former population yang kat botol ni yang lama ni, the former population becomes smaller. And then dia ada change in the gene pool and also the allelic frequency. So formally rare alleles will either occur at a higher frequency in the new population or it can be absent in the new population. Okay, sama ada dia terus tak ada ataupun lagi banyak hijau compared than before. Atau lagi banyak biru compared to before. So this is founder effect when it established or colonized in a new area. Okay, founder effect, bottleneck effect tadi bila ada chance ataupun fluctuation in the environment because of chance. Because of food supply contohnya, disease outbreak, contohnya another one natural disaster. This is bottleneck effect. Yang founder effect pun chance juga tapi dia establish or colonize in a new area. Okay. So what are the results of bottleneck and founder effect? So the smaller new populations are remain and established respectively. So the survivors and newly founded population of founder effect typically have different allele frequencies from their generation yang sebelum tu, or their previous descendant or the former population. Okay, so why? So does this lead to evolution or microevolution? Yes, because when there is a genetic drift, microevolution does occur. And it has a clearly stronger effect when it is in a small population. Okay? So next point is non-random mating, cause of microevolution. Kalau random mating is the condition of Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium. Kalau tak mate, dia terjadinya non-random mating is when individuals do not choose mates randomly. They become selective. Contohnya dia berkenan dengan dia punya partner tu because of the colour or because the strong body atau apa-apa dia favor the mates tu. Okay, so this is called selective mating. Okay, contoh random mating, dia boleh je mate dengan yang light color brown, this color brown or the yellowish sikit. Kalau non-random mating, dia pilih dia nak dia saja. Contoh, this is as a contoh. Okay, so bila terjadinya non-random mating, si brown mix dengan brown, lama-lama dia akan jadi brown makin banyak. So katakanlah ini dominant, so lama-lama the whole population tu lagi banyak dominant dan recessive. So this is the result of non-random mating. So select mates with the same phenotype in respect to a certain characteristic, reject mates with differing phenotype, and this increases the frequency of homozygote for certain loci. Sama ada increased frequency of dominant or recessive homozygote. However, this plays an important role in the evolution of a population. Yes, as I've said before, non-random mating dia tak tukar the allele frequency but tukar the genotype frequency. However, it still plays a role in the evolution of a population. Sebab when there is a non-random mating, selalunya dia akan occur dengan natural selection. So, bila ada natural selection as well, dia akan ada change in the allele frequency. Kalau genotype sahaja, tak terjadinya microevolution. Okay. So next we go on to natural selection. Natural selection is the mechanism of evolutionary change caused by environmental selection of organism most fit to reproduce. So dia pilih organism with best characteristics to survive and also to reproduce. So natural selection ni in easy words is favorism. Okay, favor the variant that is most adaptive to the present environmental condition. So contohnya phenotypes that are suitable to the environment ataupun able to survive and reproduce ataupun characteristic that is most adaptive to the environment. So individuals with these characteristics survive and reproduce at higher rate than other individuals. So this causes a change in the allelic frequency which leads to microevolution. Okay, it improves the fitness of the population. Contohnya dia pilih yang dominant saja. So this improves the fitness of the population. Okay, contoh dekat sini you tengok this is a female and this is a male. Male cantik je, dia handsome je kan. Dia punya colour pun bright. So the female ni pun attracted to this one. So this is part of natural selection. So contoh kat sini is female choice. The choice of a mate is a serious consideration because females produce few eggs dalam this type of bird. So hypothesis dia, female choose mate on the basis of traits that improve the chance of survival. Lagi satu, female choose mates on the basis of traits that improve male appearances. So males and females differ in size and other traits. This selalunya because of sexual dimorphism. So female choice can explain why male birds are more ornate than female. Ornate dia reti berhias lagi. Maksudnya colour dia lagi bright compared to the female. So and the remarkable plumes, the feathers of the male may signify health and vigor. Okay. Contoh, okay, so dia punya colour macam cantik macam ni, so males pun attracted to dia. So this is one contoh of natural selection. Okay. So that is all for topic 3. I have some practice questions for you to do that we will discuss tomorrow. Okay? Okay, sebelum tu, let us have a go at this question. Sama ada you dengar ke tak my lecture. So list the 5 conditions necessary for Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium. So can anybody answer this? You can refer to your book if you want. List the 5 conditions necessary for Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium. Ada 5. Can somebody tell me?
Saya.
Okay, boleh. Yes.
First one, no mutation.
Okay, good. No mutation.
And then no gene flow.
No gene flow, which is migration. Betul? No migration.
Yeah.
No mutation lagi.
And then random mating.
Random mating, betul. 3, lagi 2.
And then no selection.
No selection. Okay, bagus. Lagi 1, last one je.
Last one is large population.
Yeah, betul. The population must be large. This is the 5 conditions necessary for Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium. Okay, kalau dia tak ikut the Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium, because of allelic frequency, it is most likely will cause microevolution to happen. Okay, next question. Assuming a HWE, 21% of the population is homozygous dominant, 50% is heterozygous, and 29% is homozygous recessive. So what percentage of the next generation is predicted to be homozygous recessive? So siapa nak try?
Saya doktor.
Ya, siapa tu?
Alia.
Alia. Okay.
C.
C, kenapa?
39%.
Okay, kenapa?
Sebab apa tu bila dia kata dia HWE tu maknanya dia dah in equilibrium state, so dia tak akan berubah
Dia dah stable.
unless ada ada evolution occur.
Betul. So whatever you get from the previous generation akan sama dengan the generation seterusnya if it is in HWE. Okay? Ada kawan awak nak masuk kan? Sini pakai. Okay, dah. Alright, so next question. When a population is small, there is a greater chance of
B.
Betul, genetic drift. When a population is small, so the higher effect of genetic drift. Okay. Alamak, saya tersilap tekan tinjak. Kawan awak nak masuk. Okay, right. Okay, last question. Panjang sikit soalan dia. Imagine you raise goldfish as the pet dealer. You have over 10,000 fish in one large tank. But due to an electrical problem, 95% of the fish perish one night. Habis, mati semua. So the remaining 5% are left to breed and repopulate, passing their genes and traits on to future generation. So what type of genetic drift would this be considered? Siapa-siapa nak try?
Can I try?
Yes, siapa tu?
Heidi,
Heidi, okay, yes. Yeah, sure. What's your answer?
is it A?
Yes, betul. Bottleneck event. Sebab dia bukan founder effect. Bukan new, dia establish a new atau colonize tempat baru. And it is not extinction. It is not also natural selection. It is bottleneck. It is a chance event. Okay? Sama dia terjadinya because of natural disaster ke, outbreak ke, survival ini ke. This is part of the bottleneck event. Okay, that's very good.